Yo, what is up, guys? It is Lucky Punch Sports, and today is my 4th annual March Madness bracket prediction video where I'll show you guys my picks and try and help you guys with picks and predictions from the past that can help you in the future. And I'm going to start off with my 3 Cinderella contenders on upset watch for the tournament. Originally, I had 5 with Indiana State and South Florida. I loved both of those teams with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and South Florida copying Kennesaw State's roster from last year. But I still kept 3, so I'm going to start off with the James Madison Dukes from the Sun Belt Conference. They came in second, had a 31-win season, and their last bid was 10 years ago in 2013 as a 16 seed, but they are much improved through transfers from BC like TJ Bickerstaff and their guard Terrence Edwards Jr. They have an explosive offense, one of the best offenses in the entire country, and they came out opening night of the season and they beat Tom Izzo's number 4 ranked Michigan State. But they have a top 15 national offense, a top 5 national three-point percentage, and a top 25 defense to go along with that. And they have a very strong 8-man rotation, very evenly spread, but they did very well in the Sun Belt, and their offense can keep up with anybody in the entire country. And as a 12 seed, they're going to be someone to look forward to that I'll go over later. And my second team on upset watch is the Colorado Buffaloes, 3rd place team in the Pac-12. Only 24 wins, but they finished very strong. A super deep roster with Cody Williams, one of the best ranked freshmen in the country, KJ Simpson, one of the best scorers in the country, and a great big man in Tristan Da Silva. But they have a super deep roster with NBA potential, and they close the season very strong in the Pac-12 tournament. But I love their offense and how deep their team is. A team like this was a great scorer in Simpson, but also scores in the 1 through 5, even down to the bench, can do great in March, as teams like this don't have to rely on Simpson. They can stick with anyone scoring the ball, and I feel very good about their chances. And my last team on upset watch is the Drake Bulldogs from the MVC, 2nd place in the Missouri Valley Conference. Now that Loyola left, the MVC's landscape has entirely changed. It was almost a 2-bid conference with Indiana State, but it did not get there. But the father-son duo of Tucker DeVries and his dad as the coach have made a very formidable team, where Tucker's one of the most underrated scorers in the entire country, averaging almost 22 points a game this year, and a ton of great guards to help him out, like Atin Wright, who's averaging 14 himself. And last year they had a first-round exit as a 12 seed, but I still think they're a team to look forward to making a run this season. And now let's get into my bracket. So Selection Sunday just happened and the official brackets were released, and as you can see, a ton of exciting matchups all throughout the brackets. But I'm going to be going through my bracket picks and trying to help you guys on trends you can follow and teams to look out for. And so the first tip overall is your upsets. I mentioned mine earlier, but every year you want to aim for around 10 upsets per year, but also 5 in the first round alone, where a lot of seeds like the 5 and the 12, the 4, the 13, a lot of the 7 and the 10, a lot of these spots have upsets every single year. The 5 and the 12 and the 6 and 11 are the most popular, where almost 40% of the time the underdog wins the matchup. So don't just pick the higher seeds when you're going through your teams. So starting off, usually 1 seeds don't lose in the first round, Purdue, but usually you want to pick your 1 seeds. UConn will beat Stetson for sure. Houston is beating Longwood. Purdue should beat Grambling or Montana State, and North Carolina will definitely beat Howard or Wagner. But after going through your 1 seeds, now I'm just going to go through my picks and give you upsets to look out for. And remember, you want around 5 first-round upsets, but really just find the matchups you like, find the teams you like. There was a ton of complaints with the selection process this year. The Big East kind of got shafted, where the Mountain West got 6 teams in. The Big East only got 3, so a lot of people upset, but it did make for some fun matchups. So starting in the East region, we have an 8 and a 9 of Dusty Mays, FAU, where they obviously went to the Final Four last year, and then Northwestern. And once again, 8 and 9, don't even look at the seed. I'm going to be taking Northwestern. I don't think FAU finished the season as strong as they wanted. And then another tough matchup of San Diego State versus UAB, and I'm actually going to take UAB here, I really like how they ended the year, but at 5-12, you need to find them every year. And then Auburn, Yale barely beat Brown to win their conference tournament, and the 4-seed Auburn I think is just way stronger, and they still have a ton of guys from their powerful team 3 years ago, where Katie Johnson is a senior this year, but I still like their chances in early rounds. And I'm a big fan of BYU this year. I don't see many people talking about them, but I do like them a lot this year, and I think they definitely can go far. And then Illinois, who just won the Big Ten against Morehead State. Unlucky for Morehead State, but I gotta give it to Illinois, just being a more powerful team overall. And now one of my teams, Drake, is on upset watch for me as the 10 seed. Washington State is a strong team with a good resume, but I really like Drake this year to at least get one win in March. And then going down to Iowa State, who won the Big 12 and ended with the demolition of Houston. And now down to the Western region, we have Mississippi State versus Michigan State, and I do not love this matchup. I don't like Michigan State at all. I don't think they should even be in March right now, but I am going to pick them because Tom Izzo knows how to work his magic every March. And then St. Mary's versus Grand Canyon. This can definitely be a huge 5-12 upset that a lot of people will see, but I like St. Mary's here. They ran the WCC with Gonzaga having a down year. And now Alabama versus Charleston. I'm taking Alabama here. It's a 4 versus 13. You got to get your upsets, but you also got to take your obvious ones. And speaking of upsets, Clemson versus New Mexico. Clemson was good this year, but I like New Mexico a lot. Even with Mashburn, Patino, I like New Mexico. I like what they can do. And moving down to Baylor versus Colgate. Colgate had a great conference tourney run, but Baylor is a super strong team, so I'm going with the 3-seed Baylor. And then down to Dayton, Nevada. Two teams I was not even sure they would make the tournament. I am going to take Dayton here. I like the A-10. They had a bad tournament, but they're still here as a 7-seed. And then once again, I'm picking the 2-seed Arizona to move on. And now moving back up to the Southern Division, we have Nebraska versus A&M, a huge matchup as the 8-9, and I'm taking Nebraska. I think they were great in the Big Ten, and I liked what I saw. And now we have Wisconsin versus James Madison, a super fun matchup between one of my upset watch, James Madison versus Wisconsin, who struggled in the Big Ten but ended out amazingly to finish the Big Ten conference tourney. But I like James Madison a lot. Their offense is amazing. They beat Michigan State when they were ranked 4 at the start of the year. They can keep up with anyone, and I think that includes Wisconsin. So I'll take another 5-12 upset right there. And going down to Duke versus Vermont. Vermont, even when they played Arkansas, a lot of people had them, but I'm taking Duke. A ton of strong players, but they might have to watch out for Vermont fans rushing onto the court. And now Texas Tech versus NC State. I really like NC State. I do like Texas Tech. Right now I'm going to pick NC State. I liked what they did against Duke in the ACC. And I'm not a huge fan of Texas Tech, but going down to Kentucky, Oakland, I love Kentucky. I think they're going to turn heads in March. They didn't start out the season well, but Rob Dillingham, Wagner, anyone, they have a great roster, and I think they're going to surprise people. And now another one of my upset watch teams is Colorado, as a 10-seed making history as a first 4 game. But I do love Colorado. I'm going to say they beat Boise State, and I'm going to say they beat Florida. I'm not a huge fan of Florida. I know some people are now. I am not. And then Marquette, who had a great year, and with Shaka Smart, I expect great things for them. But I'll definitely get them over the 15-seeded Western Kentucky. And then the final region is the Midwest region, where we already have Purdue going through. And then I'm going to take TCU over Utah State. I'm not a fan of either of these teams, but I think TCU is a little better. And then Will Wade's McNeese, who I did really like as an upset contender. But against Gonzaga, that's a tough matchup. I'm going to do Gonzaga. I think a lot of people are underestimating them because how rough they started. But you can't forget that they've made the Sweet 16 the last 8 years in a row, which is pretty remarkable. And then going down, Stanford is another school people liked, but I'm not a fan of Kansas, but I think they'll definitely get that game. And then South Carolina versus Oregon. This is another tough one, a Pac-12 versus SEC matchup. I'm honestly not a fan of either of these teams, but I don't hate either one either, so I think I'm going to go with South Carolina. And then going down to one of the big 3 in the Big East, Creighton, who I'm a huge fan of this year. Kalkbrenner, their whole team is very good. And Akron as the 14th seed, I don't think will stand a chance, but I think Creighton can definitely make a run this year, and they have a good section of the bracket. Whereas going down to Colorado State versus UVA, 2 bubble teams that somehow made it. Once again, did not think either would make it, but I'm going to do Texas again. And then down to Tennessee, St. Peter's. Tennessee's known for choking. St. Peter's known for making people choke, but I'm going to go with the 2-seed Tennessee. A miracle won't happen again. And now into the second round. And as you can see, all of my 1 seeds and all of my 2 seeds still alive. But you do want to get at least 1 2 seed will lose by the second round. It happens every single year. But going up to UConn versus Northwestern, a lot of people think UConn is the best team in the tournament, and I think so too. I think they're going to outshine Northwestern. And then UAB Auburn, I'm actually going to take Auburn. It's a tough matchup. Honestly, not a fan of either of the teams, but that's the way the bracket went. But Auburn will be going against UConn. And then another upset here, I'm taking BYU over Illinois. Illinois seems like a very player-centric team with Terrence Shannon, and I think BYU is one of the most underrated teams, and they can shock people. And this may surprise people, but I'm going to put Drake to beat Iowa State as the 2 seed. You got to find your upsets. Here they are. I might look stupid. I might look like a genius after, but I do like Drake. Iowa State seems like they've been playing amazing, but could also be performing above their expectations. And you need a 2 seed to lose, and that's the one I'm picking. And then moving down to the West Division, I'm taking UNC over Michigan State. This is a matchup that would be a powerhouse matchup a few years ago, but I don't think Tom Izzo can do the magic he once could do. And then St. Mary's versus Alabama, I'm going to take St. Mary's to move on. I don't like Alabama. I don't love St. Mary's, but I think they put up a stronger fight in the last few weeks. And then New Mexico Baylor. If this was someone else, I would put New Mexico on, but Baylor also looks super, super strong. And then going down to Dayton versus Arizona, I think Arizona just has too deep of a roster. And now down to Houston versus Nebraska. I would love Nebraska here, but Houston has been so dominant. I'll take them to move on. And then now James Madison versus Duke. I'm taking James Madison with the upset. I'm not a huge fan of Duke. They do have a young team, but James Madison offense is so good. I don't think anybody can keep up with them. And then Kentucky, I think, will move on past NC State, whereas Marquette will beat Colorado to make a powerful matchup in the Sweet 16. And then moving down to the Midwest, I'm taking Purdue again. Obviously, Purdue has choked recently in years past. A lot of people think Edey won't get that whistle in March, but I like Purdue this year. I think they brought in transfers to fix the issues they had in the past, and they're a much improved team this year compared to last. I don't like Kansas at all. And then moving down, I'm taking Creighton over South Carolina. I really like Creighton this year, and I think they have a super deep team with a ton of fight. And then I'll also be taking Texas over Tennessee. I think Tennessee is kind of fraudulent, and I can definitely see them losing early. And then moving back up, we have the number 1 seed UConn in the Sweet 16 versus the 4 seed Auburn, and I will take the 1 seed UConn. And then moving down, we have a 6 and a 10. I don't think anyone will have them that far, but I love BYU. Could be Iowa State there too, but I'm not a fan of Illinois. I like BYU and Drake a lot. Going down to the West, we have St. Mary's. We'll be moving on, but I have Baylor beating Arizona. And then back to the South, Houston, James Madison. I want to put James Madison more, and I'll take James Madison. But I think this year there's been so much parity, whether it is from NIL deals or the new transfer portal rules, but I think we're going to see more upsets than ever. So I could easily see James Madison having a Cinderella run here. I'm going to take Kentucky to beat Marquette. I love Marquette. Tyler Kolek will be back, but Kentucky's roster I think is just far too strong. Whereas Marquette is one of the best teams in the country. They struggled against the very best like UConn and teams like Kentucky. I'm taking Purdue, and I think they're just going to overpower them from the 1 to 5. And I'll also be taking Big East, Creighton, I think, over Texas. Creighton will just also be too strong once again. And now I have my Elite 8 decided, and as you can see, all my 2's out. You got to take your sacrifices, but don't take all the favorites, and don't go too crazy. The 1 seeds are there for a reason, because they're really good at basketball. And my first Final Four team is going to be UConn. I just think they are that good. And then moving down, I'm taking Baylor. I just really like Baylor this year. And then moving up, Kentucky, another 1 seed gone. I'm taking Kentucky. I think Kentucky will go very far this year and shock people. And then down, Purdue versus Creighton. I will be taking Creighton. I think they're the perfect team to upset Purdue. And Kalkbrenner might be the perfect kryptonite for Zach Edey. So now my Final Four is set. I only have one 1 seed and 3 seeds, which is kind of wild. But hey, no one has a perfect bracket. You got to mix it up at least a little bit. So now my final picks for the championship game, I'm going to be picking UConn, the national champs, back in their place against Kentucky to avoid the Big East matchup. I think Kentucky is a really good team, and they're going to turn people's heads. In my championship game, I'm going with UConn to repeat. I think they are that good. And then the final score, you can do whatever you want. I think high scoring game versus Kentucky. It'll be a super fun game. And that is my final bracket. So definitely let me know in the comments what you guys think, what you hated about my bracket, what you loved, what upset you have, what Cinderella teams you have, anything. I love to talk to you guys, especially with March Madness coming up this week that we're all very excited for. So if you enjoyed the video, definitely subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below.